Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's Mike with smartoptiontrading.com. It is Friday, the 5th of April. This is your weekly recap. If you want to join us, link in the description below. Come to smartoptiontrading.com and you can join our live trading room and Discord service for $150 a month and see how we do things differently around here and what we've been up to all week. So let's talk about this week that was. And the last couple of weeks has been a very tricky market. So for the last couple of weeks, volume has been up more or less mostly on the low side, very tight ranges on the SPY. And we've been waffling around here and just not giving very good, easy trades. Yesterday, we gapped up, we pushed. It looked like we were going to break out to the all-time high, and we had a wicked reversal in the middle of the day. This wicked reversal, a lot of people are saying the Fed, the Fed, the Fed. It's not the Fed. Fed members have been saying now for weeks and continue to say today that there's no, June rate hike may not be on the table. This is geopolitical concerns over what's going on Iran and retaliating to Israel. Now, whether this is right or wrong here in terms of what's going to happen is irrelevant. It's what the market thought at that point. So we have a little bit of a downtick yesterday. And today, what the market do, we had a jobs number, very strong, 303,000 versus, I think, 200,000-ish expected. But the big news there was the inflationary data was less than expected, was in line. So the wages were where they were expected. So what do you get? We've done all the time back here. We gap up, we trapped the shorts, and then we squeezed them and we pushed all the way back up to the area where we broke down from that trend line and back above the 8 and the 21 day before pulling back a bit here. Volume today is fairly low, 59 million, nothing like yesterday, but it's still, it's above average. It's going to be a decent little day here for volume. Let's talk about everything else. Quickly on the Qs. The Qs have been a little weaker, came down. They tested the 50-day, pushed back up, similar here, sitting on the 8-day. The IWM couldn't get above the 8-day. The financials came running back off the 21-day. Energy has been raging new highs here, and this is one of the tells. Crude continues to push. The market's saying right now it's concerned about the Middle East, and it's saying that in a way that they're buying crude, worried here that they're going to get some type of a spike in crude because if Iran attacks Israel, maybe there's a disruption in the flow of crude out of the Middle East, or they go after the shipping lanes like they can. So that's why you're seeing the spike in crude. And this is the market's way of saying it's a little bit worried. We're also seeing continued problems here with bonds. Okay. Bonds, which, it looked like they were starting to rotate into last week, have really collapsed back down here, put a new range low in. This downtrend remains intact. And, bonds remain problematic here. And that means if bonds down, you can look at your good friend TNX, and that's the rates. And you can see rates here are pushing back up. They're nowhere near the highs, but they've been pushing steadily back up. This is not good for the market. The dollar has been strengthening again, came in for a couple of days, but pushing back up today. So these are things to keep an eye on. The other thing to watch here is the VIX. As we go into the close today, the VIX here is staying outside the Bollinger Band. This is an indicator we've used for years now, and it's worked very well. When the VIX goes out of the Bollinger Band and reverts back in, it's typically a risk-on signal, or a risk-off signal if it's out of the bottom of them and comes back into it. Today, we've been out of it most of the day. We've had a couple brief incursions below it, but basically we're staying at the top of it with about 25 minutes to go. So the VIX is saying it's not game on yet. My personal thought here, if the market nothing happens over the weekend, we likely get a big gap up here on Monday, but we'll see. So let's talk about what else has been going on this week. And it's all been about names, and more names, and, some good ones and some not so good ones. Google, new all-time high on Monday, came back in here today, lost that area, but a strong chart, still holding in, back above the 8-day, holding fine. Amazon finally trying to get to that all-time high of 188.65. It's a slog. It's not an easy trade. You look at the way this trades. Every time it breaks out, it comes in. It doesn't hold it, but it's moving up. Meta said, I can put an all-time high in, and did the last 2 days in a row and closing strong still. And you get the theme here. They continue to come back for the names they want. And these are some of the names they want. NVIDIA remains kind of in this consolidation phase. It's still holding here fine. It's in a consolidation phase. I've traded the hell out of this the last 3 days. Bottom line is under the 8 and the 21 days. So it's not a time to be just trying to long it here other than quick trades, but it's not falling apart. So, again, if it comes down, there's a little gap sitting here, and you may have a little gap filled in and get down to that 50-day area. AMD continues to be a very weak name in general. Ugly candle yesterday, a little bit of a bounce here, but not even enough strength to take back 50% of yesterday's candle there. All right, so you see a little difference. Apple also remains a little weaker. You do have a possible W pattern here. Chris pointed this out. He's right. You got a little W pattern possibly forming here. We need to hold this low of 168.28. Tesla has just been smothered in news this week. Their delivery numbers were horrific. They sold off 7% on that. They bounced back. They jumped up on talk that they're retooling their gigabit factory Berlin to sell cars to India. And then they dropped today on reports that they're canceling their cheap car, their 20 to 25,000 car they were building. And then Musk came out on Twitter and said that's not true, but the more damage was done. Another one that has a possible W pattern here forming. Things to keep an eye on. What else this week, guys? What were some other interesting things here? If I'm forgetting anything here talking about, I know I keep talking about these big names, but this is where the money's been. Micron put a new all-time high in this week. Came in a little bit, remained strong. Microsoft holding just fine here. Netflix yesterday put a new range high. And then there's the energy names. ExxonMobil has been on a tear. This is an all-time high for it today. Oxy also moving. Remember, Oxy, big player in shale and oil. And, if there's war and disruptions in the Middle East, that's good for Oxy. That's why you're seeing Oxy run. Chevron here has been the weak link. Not really moving up all that well, not really trading all that well. So with that said, next week we have CPI and what did I do? And PPI next week. And we have the start of earnings season. The earnings season kicks off on Friday with couple of the big banks reporting. I screwed this up as I was sitting here. So I'll do charts on Sunday. Everybody have a fabulous weekend, and I'll catch you guys in the room bright and early on Monday morning.